Hello, Prodigy Land. It's me, Coach Randy. This episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour was supposed to be released on January 28th. Indeed, it was almost finished and ready for release, just needing the play-by-play to be added when, in late January, I was in a head-on car collision. Oreo and I were both in the car. I was not feeling well that day and had been to the doctor and ultimately the emergency room for treatment. I was driving home from picking up some prescription medications at the pharmacy when the accident occurred. The only explanation that makes any sense to me is that I must have lost consciousness briefly, just long enough to swerve into the lane of oncoming traffic. About all I remember from the crash is headlights in my face and then the impact, that horrible impact, and all the airbags deploying. The driver of the other vehicle, an 18-year-old girl, made a last-second evasive move in an attempt to avoid a direct head-on impact, but we still collided, her right front with my right front. But her evasive action may well have saved all of our lives. I'm told she's fine, and thank God for that. Oreo came through the accident pretty much unscathed, but I suffered a fairly serious foot and ankle sprain and severe bruising, as well as a few minor skin scrapes. Now, almost 3 weeks after the accident, I still require a walker just to walk. But I was lucky. This could have been much, much worse. I was still in the hospital at the time the February KCO was held, so there won't be any February shows, I'm afraid, and the question of whether I'll be able to tape the shows in March is still up in the air. There's still the matter of how I'm going to get around, since I have no automobile now, but rest assured that as soon as I'm able, and as soon as I'm able to walk, I'll be back out there filming the next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. I love doing this show, and I will do everything in my power to resume production. I want to thank everyone for their patience and kindness. I've received a ton of well wishes from fans of the show, but now it's time you get to see our second show from January that was still in post-production when the accident occurred. This is a good one, and I think you're going to enjoy it. For the final time in the 2022-23 bowling season, we have returned to Lawrence, Kansas and Royal Crest Lanes to crown a champion on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And with 3 former winners on Prodigy in the field, including one in the top spot, this could be the day we finally get our first 2-time winner since Prodigy moved to America's heartland. But 2 first-timers on Prodigy will have something to say about that. It's the January 23 KCO on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and it starts now. Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. Prodigy Bowlers Tour welcomes you to episode 138, the 2023 Kansas City Open January Points Tournament, Division I Championship Round. Today, 5 finalists will compete in a series of head-to-head matches where the winner will keep advancing as long as they keep winning. In our opening match, the number 5 qualifier, Braylon Warren of Kansas City, Missouri, making his first appearance on Prodigy, will face Fiona West of Raymore, Missouri, who won the Division II title last time we were in Lawrence. The winner of that match will face Antonio Miranda of Shawnee, Kansas, looking for his second win of the season on Prodigy. That winner will face our 2-seed, Joshua Oldham of Excelsior Springs, Missouri, making his first appearance on Prodigy. And the winner of that match will bowl for the title against Rhett Ryman of Kansas City, Kansas, who's coming off a win last month on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. One of these 5 will sign the coveted trophy pin today. The high school bowling season is upon us. From the start of January through the first week of March in Kansas, where bowling is a varsity sport, Kids who bowl for their high school are not allowed to participate in leagues or tournaments. So a number of our Kansas kids are missing from the KCO field. But a few high schools put off the start of their practice schedule until tomorrow, Monday the 9th, which gave the Kansas kids who attend those schools the opportunity to bowl in the KCO today. In Missouri, where high school bowling is just a club activity, no such restrictions exist, so look for the field to be dominated by Missouri kids in February. Of course, in Division I, where all the bowlers carry averages 200 and above, they bowl scratch. Here's how the 6-game qualifying round went down in Division I. As you can see, the field is a bit smaller, with many of the Kansas kids unable to compete as their high schools have already begun practicing. But for the 16 bowlers who are here to compete, the pins were flying fast and furious. Antonio Miranda had the hot hand in the morning squad when he opened the tournament with a 700, as Rhett Ryman was just 1 pin back at 699. Josh Oldham, Caden White, and Cole Darby were all within 15 pins in that early block. Scan down a bit, and you see another familiar name, Colby Lovegren, who never seems to be far from the lead. Then when the afternoon block shook out, Rhett Ryman had seized the lead thanks to a scintillating 793 series, while Fiona West and Braylon Warren made moves of their own to get into the top 5. And Colby Lovegren? Well, he finished just 17 pins outside the cut line and is our alternate today. Other names you're familiar with include Landon Stoddard, Nolan Nash, Cooper Farmer, and Carson Beach. All of them Missouri kids who aren't subject to the restrictions of Kansas high school bowling. We're liable to see them next month in Leavenworth. But right now, it's time for our opening match between the 5 seed, Braylon Warren, and the number 4 qualifier, Fiona West. The two begin with the customary handshake to get things started. You may recall Fiona West, she won the Division II title back in November when we were here at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence. She was the top seed and scored higher than anybody in any division. And she did it with a whole lot of shots like that. Fiona West with a strong opening toss. Let's take another look at it. 5-step delivery. Throwing this thing over about 11 at the arrows, out to about 7 at the break point, and high flush. Good start. Yikes. Well, Braylon Warren, this is our first look at him, gets a break on his opening toss. Nearly had the 4.67, but breaks it up. This young man started bowling at the age of 8, but he didn't start bowling league until he was 16. He's 18 now.
Hey, fix your shoelace so you don't trip, please.
And this guy is a strong bowler. You're going to love watching him.
I don't want any broken bones.
Oh! Well, that one gets away from him. And an early mistake. And advantage Fiona West. Braylon hooks past the 4-pin and, well, an unforced error to begin. He lists Jason Belmonte as his favorite bowler. Pretty good one to model yourself after if you're a two-hander. And that's how you right the ship. Slaps out the 10-pin like a boss. So Braylon forgets all about that open frame and puts a strike on the board. Fiona rips the rack. We've seen her do that before. She doesn't overpower the lane, doesn't try to rip the cover off the ball, but she gets plenty on it. And watch the 5-pin. It just whistles over into the 7, and that is the quintessential power strike, the swisher. Gotta love it. Seemed to me like she let up on the speed just a little bit on that one. And it drifts high, leaves the 6. Changes balls, goes cross lane. And even with the change of balls, she changes her release slightly to throw it straighter. I approve of that tactic. And now Braylon will try to unlock the mystery of lane 14. Got started bowling when his dad got him his first bowling ball, and he's been bowling ever since. Hard to believe somebody with that kind of rev rate can leave a 10-pin, but as I used to hear the commentator on TV say, when one round object hits another round object, they don't always react the same. And he whiffs it. Goodness gracious. Those are 2 easy spares that he just missed. And he trails by 32 pins just 3 frames into the match. At this level of competition, you can't be just throwing pins away like that. But he sure got the left lane down. Now if he can just back that up with a strike on the right lane the next time he's up. Lots of leverage in that game. Pins had no chance. A little thin with that one. Fiona breaks up what could have been a cluster of pins and has just the 2, an easy spare. Although we've seen easy spares get left behind, I have a feeling she'll take care of this 2-pin. Nothing to it. Well, Fiona lists as her favorite bowler Chris Prather. And I gotta say, he's one of my favorites too. A real stylist. Very smooth. Fiona with 3 tournament wins to her credit. KCO, Heart of America, and the Pepsi. That one got out to the dry boards a little too early on the lane. She missed to the right. And once again, it looked like she let up on the speed just a little. In either case, it read the lane much too early and went through the nose. There's the 3-6. And you see how she flattens things out, even though she switches to a spare ball, just to make sure that ball's not going to get away from her. Now Braylon needs to get on the stick. He's still looking for his first mark on the right lane. If he can strike here, he'll cut into Fiona's lead just a bit. There you go. That's what he's looking for. So the lead is now just 19. Here's a comparison of their games side by side, synced up at the release. Very different getting to the release and through the ball. Two very different games, both very effective. In this sport, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Now this strike, if he can get it, would cut the lead to just 9. Oh my goodness, he threw that thing so hard I thought it was headed for the channel. But he just ripped the finger holes out. Watch this, 5-step approach, pretty typical two-handed game with the big step to the left. Over the third arrow, man, that got out to about the 4th board, but see you later, pins. Game on. Well, that's what Fiona broke down the last time she was up on the right lane and left the 2-pin. This time she doesn't break up the cluster and has the 2-4-5-8. We call it the bucket. Here's how you make it. Put the ball right on the 2 and 5. Let the ball drive through and carry out the 8 while the 2 gets the 4. And that's how it's done right there. Well, when we saw Fiona here back in November, when she won Division II, she proved to be a really good spare shooter. And once she got lined up on the pair, there was no catching her. She is very good at repeating shots again and again. She hasn't quite gotten lined up on this pair yet. If she does, look out. High again, but she gets away with it. What a break. Watch this one. This is going to go right through the nose. That's got to be the 2-pin that comes back off the left wall and trips out the 6. Thank you very much. Braylon throws his Sunday ball at it and just doesn't get rewarded. Ring and 10. Sometimes there is no justice in bowling. What? Well, if this guy could make a spare, he'd be dangerous. But that is 2 10-pins that he's missed on the left. And he missed the 4-7 on the left. I don't know what to say about that other than might want to spend some practice time working on spares. And that one just never got very wide and just headed straight for the nose. And now he's got the 6-pin. Can he make a spare? He can ill afford another open here. It's getting late. Look out. I don't think he can believe it. I promise you, you don't qualify for the step ladder if you can't make spares. He bowled better than that all day, but goodness, he's just feast or famine for Braylon in this match. 4 strikes and 4 opens. Wow. And 9 and a wiggle is all you're going to get, Fiona. The Swisher 5-pin didn't quite get the 7 this time. But again, an easy spare. And she covers it. So we get down to the final 2 frames of this match. Fiona in the driver's seat with a 29-pin lead. Braylon has practically handed her this match with all the open frames. Goodness gracious. Just a pinch high. She made an adjustment. Now she knows she's close. So it's just a matter of maybe another board left with her feet. Maybe a board left with her feet, a board left with her eyes. I'm sure she'll figure it out the next time she's up on the left lane. That assumes, of course, that she is up on the left lane again. That would mean that she would go on to win this match. And that certainly appears to be the way things are going. But let's not pull the curtain down just yet. Still a couple of frames to bowl, and I'm sure Braylon would like to have a say in that. And he just might if he throws enough of those. That's the best ball he's thrown the whole match. Watch this. Very powerful game. And that 6-pin just whacks out the 10-pin. All right, he could use 3 more of those right here. Put a little pressure on Fiona. Oh, he gets the love tap on the 10. That was heading to be a weak 10. Watch the 6-pin here. The second one from the right. It looks like it's going to lay down in the gutter and just go to sleep, but no. It bounced out just enough and tipped out the 10. That was critical. I don't think he could have won the match without that, and now he needs this next one. This would cut the lead to just 8. And there it is. So with that strike, he's given himself a chance. Fiona will have to mark in the 10th. Watch this. Man, he put so much on the ball. They just run to get out of the way. A strike for 193. And he shreds the rack and finishes strong. It was feast or famine for Braylon this game, but he at least got himself in position to have a chance at the end. Half pocket, 5 goes over and gets the 7. Fiona West needs a mark in the 10th to win. Uh-oh. Well, once again, might have let up on the speed just a little bit. The 4, 7, 10. Here's how you make it. Put the ball on the left edge of the 4, slide it across into the 10. The ball will take out the 7. Fiona must make it to win. And she goes all out but misses it. And Braylon Warren gets her at the very end. And it's Braylon who's moving on to face Antonio Miranda next. It looked like Braylon Warren had given that first match away after he missed 3 easy spares. But after he finished with a flurry of strikes at the end, and Fiona West got stopped by a wide-open split in the 10th, the match took a sudden turn. It underscores the importance of spares and how, in the sport of bowling, like most things, winning is as much about hanging in there and not giving up as anything. So it's Braylon Warren who sneaks past Fiona West in our opening match, and now he'll face our number 3 qualifier, Antonio Miranda. Antonio won the Division I crown back in October when we were at Gladstone. He's one of the 2 Kansas kids we have in the field today whose high school put off its opening practice session until tomorrow, giving him the opportunity to compete in the KCO today. Braylon picks up where he left off, shreds the rack, gets those pins dancing everywhere. Watch this. Gives it a little extra speed. Throws it out to about 6, half pocket, and they're flying everywhere. Now, Antonio Miranda, you saw him win at Gladstone back in October. Yikes. That ball hooks sharply, and what have we here? The 3, 4, 6, 10. One we don't see all that often. Here's how you make it. Put the ball over on the right edge of the 3, slide it over into the 4. Had the right idea, just a little too much 3-pin. So an open frame to begin. And he better not do that too often. Braylon might run away and hide the way he's striking. Well, that looked like a pretty good ball, but it kind of quit at the end. It was trying to climb back to the pocket, and then it just kind of flattened out at the end. So I'm not sure if he's got the right ball in his hand. It looks like he might need something a little weaker that'll scoot down the lane a little farther and give him a little more of an angular look. But there's a spare. We didn't see much of Braylon in the first half of the season, and that's because he plays football for his school. In fact, one of his most proud accomplishments is being named all-conference honorable mention in football. So good for him. I don't know what position he plays, but I wouldn't want him tackling me. Boom! Look at those pins just scatter. Well, I tell you what, if he gets loose on this pair of lanes and starts freewheeling it, stand back. That's a lot of power there, man. Wow. See if he can keep it going. It is fun to watch when a player starts freewheeling. He pulled that one. Seemed like it was going to stay in the oil, but he just overpowered the lane. And even with that shallow entry angle, that 5-pin was trying to get out of the way. Here's his footwork again. That was over about 19 at the arrows, out to about 12. Just barely got the 5, but it went down, and he's perfect through 3. I'll tell you something, Antonio Miranda is intimidated by no one on the lanes. This kid is full of confidence, and he knows he can strike. He has won multiple KCOs, singles and doubles. He knows how to get to the winner's circle. And I don't think he'll have any problem with these lanes overhooking like we've seen some of the players struggle with. These last couple of months at the KCO, we've seen players in the stepladder, after they've been bowling on this burn for so long, they just get the ball out too quick, starts overhooking on them. Antonio is not afraid to move left and then left some more. Love his technique at spares. Goes to a spare ball and still flattens out his wrist to throw it straight, much the way Fiona did, except Antonio obviously a two-hander. Very effective. But right now, Braylon is having his way with this pair of lanes. Did you see that 10-pin hop up in the air? It left the ground for just an instant, but it didn't fall. So he will go cross lane at it. Now he's already missed, what, 2 or 3 of these 10 pins already today. See if he can make one. And he throws his arms up in celebration. A spare. Tell you what, you better not leave any opens against Antonio or he'll pay for it. Well now, nearly had the 4-5-7, a spare I would never expect him to leave, but I think he just threw it a little too hard. He pulled it a bit, stayed in the oil, so it didn't have the benefit of finding the friction to drive through, and it just skidded by, and he almost got the wall shot, but the 4 didn't quite take out the 5. So that's 2 spares in a row for Braylon. But the Braylon Warren train has slowed just a bit. And now that gives Antonio Miranda a chance to climb back in this match. Oh, he goes high, leaves the 4, and then gets a gift. The bowling gods smiled down upon him. Watch this. I'm not sure what this was. This might have been the 3-pin. It's right on the nose. I think it's the 3-pin that goes to the right wall and then comes back across the pin deck and trips the 4 from behind. Gotta love it. Man, don't see that very often. And he shreds the rack on the next shot. And that cuts into Braylon's lead a bit. It's now just 19. And here's a side-by-side look at these two, both two-handers. So the game should be pretty similar. There they are with the ball at the top of the swing, at release. Very different build on those two young men. But the results, very similar. Well, he pulled the ever-loving snot out of that one. and pulled it clear over into the next fairway. But he gets a Brooklyn and will say, thank you very much, I'll take it. Yeah, every once in a while you get a clunker. But if they all go down, I'm betting you're not going to give it back. But now here's the key shot. You get one of those, and you want to take advantage of it, put another one up right behind it. Goes with a little extra speed, but it overhooks. And it may be time for him to move left a little. Goodness gracious, he threw that thing so fast. Hard to believe it could hook that much, but the 3, 6, 10. Got to be careful with this one. And he's had trouble with right side spares today. And that's what you got to be careful of with the 3, 6, 10. Taking the 3 off the 6. And now his lead is down to just 5 pins. And Antonio has a double working. So this match could take a turn right here if Antonio can put another X up on the board. And he does exactly that. Takes the lead. And now this match feels quite different heading into the final frames. Look at Antonio's release right next to his ankle. You want to get as close to your ankle as you can without hitting it, of course. Oh, that smarts when you hit it. But you get maximum leverage the closer to your ankle you can be with that release. Ideally, you want that ball right under your head at release. And there's another solid strike. And Antonio has measured this pair of lanes and now seems to have it figured out. 5-step approach. He's a planter, not a slider. Over the 4th arrow, out to about 8. And down they go. Braylon, it's time to go to the whip. He scatters them. That's the move he needed to make. Just a little to the left with the feet. Get that ball in the oil a little bit longer before it finds friction. He hits light, catches a shaker. This match is far from over. He can cut the lead down to 5 pins with a strike here in the 9th. And he really needs to do just that. And he rips them apart. Don't count Braylon Warren out yet. These two can really strike. Watch this, man. He's got so much on that ball. Little half pocket action. He knew it was good as soon as it left his hand. All right. Boom. Right in the hole. You can't throw it any better than that. There is a psychology to all match play, but when it's high scoring and everybody's throwing strikes, you really have to be tough-minded and not be afraid to go high. And when I mean high, I mean throw the high scores. Some players get to where about 210, 220 is kind of their limit, and they start feeling uncomfortable. You got to be able to just know you can keep striking with the best of them. And I guarantee you, Antonio believes in himself in that way. And now, he's in position where he can shut out Braylon Warren. Over the fourth arrow, that was out to about 6, 7 maybe. He just needs good count. That's pretty good count right there. And it's Antonio Miranda who's going to win this second match. And he does it in style. Gotta say, this was a fascinating match, though. Looked like Braylon was in control. And then Antonio said, not so fast. 248. That's some bowling right there. 248 and starts with an open. How do you like that? Braylon can finish with 234. Wow. Those pins just look like little matchsticks down there when he's bowling. Tell you what, now that he's done with football season, don't be surprised if he shows up in the top 5 again. This guy can really roll that rock, I'm telling you. Yep, he's going to end up in the 220s. Needs to do a little work on his spare shooting, but Braylon Warren has a devastating strike ball, and we'll keep our eyes out for him in coming months. But right now, it's Antonio Miranda who's moving on to face Joshua Oldham in our next match. One big mistake in the 7th frame really cost Braylon Warren. Just when he chopped the 3-6-10, Antonio Miranda was starting to string what would become a 7-bagger to close out the match. Take that open frame away, and Braylon's right there at the end with Antonio. But how many times have we talked about games being so often won or lost on spares? This was another example. But I'll tell you what, Braylon's game is impressive, and he throws a devastating strike ball. If he ever straightens out his spare game, he's going to be a problem for anyone who has to bowl him. But on this occasion, it's Antonio Miranda who's moving on. His 248 has put him into match 3, where he'll now face our number 2 qualifier, Joshua Oldham. Josh's mom was kidding with me earlier, saying he used to make the stepladder finals pretty much all the time at the KCO. But ever since I showed up with my cameras to film them for Prodigy Bowlers Tour, well, we haven't seen Josh make it until today. So I'm glad he finally broke through. He's been close a few times this season, and now Prodigy Land will get to see him. These two are among the most consistent bowlers we have at the KCO, and I expect them to give us a good competitive match. Drifts high on his opening toss, Josh Oldham, who says he wants to be a professional bowler when he grows up, maybe own his own bowling center. So I'd say he's all in. The 3-6. And he makes short work of it. Antonio Miranda, on the other hand, tells us he hasn't really decided what he wants to be when he grows up. And you know what? He doesn't have to decide this month. Whenever I interviewed people for a job and asked them what do you want to be when you grow up, I always said the right answer is I don't want to grow up. Boo! What is this? The Greek church? Oh my, the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. This is how I would shoot at it if I needed to make it. But in this situation, early in the match where he's not in a must-make situation, go for the 3 on the right, get the count. You might get lucky and bounce one out. But every time I've made it, I've gone for the 2 on the left. But that's the sensible play early in the match. Take the count. Should mention that the action you see to our left on lanes 11 and 12, that's Division 3. And we will give you their results at the end of the show after we visit with our winner following the championship match. Antonio says that it was Colby Lovegren that got him into bowling, and now they're good buddies. Bingo. There's the line he was looking for. Watch the 6-pin on this one. It's going to go to the wall, and as it's flying around the neck of the 10, it's going to just catch the edge of it, tip it out. Oh my. Maybe the right lane is transitioning a little more than the left. Whatever the case, we've seen a couple of splits now in the right lane. Here's the 4, 7, 10, and how you make it. We've actually seen this once before. Fiona West left it and was unable to convert it, and it cost her her match. So each player exchanging open frames on the right lane. Well, if Josh Oldham looks graceful to you on the lane, and I think he does, it might be because he's been practicing dancing for 7 years. Ballet, hip-hop, and tap. How about that? We don't get that every month on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, I'll tell you that much. But he's a regular on the local youth bowling tournament scene. Makes most of the KCOs and Heart of Americas, the other big tournament circuit that we have here in the area. And there's a solid strike. Throwing it around 14 at the arrows, out to about 8. A little straighter than Antonio, doesn't have quite the rev rate. to bend it quite as much, but he keeps that ball under control. Antonio, on the other hand, just lets it rip and gets the advantage of that big entry angle. Over about 19 at the arrows, out to about 6. And that was a freight train going through the pins. And he's right back on the strike train. Leading with a double up. Oh my! Once again, that ball was kind of quitting on him. You see how it flattened out at the end? You'll see his footwork, but pay attention to the ball motion. That ball will start to hook, and then it just kind of flattens out at the end. And just deflected around the 5, but he got the wall shot. Josh was like, I don't want to put up with any more of this. And he shreds the rack. Rips the 5 over into the 7. I love that hit. It's my favorite strike. Here it is, the ball right under his head at the bottom of the swing. Right in line with his head at the top of the swing. Right below his head at the bottom of the swing. Right next to his ankle. Just ideal position all the way through. I'd like to see him stay down a little more through release. It looks like he pulls up a little bit, but can't argue with the results. Oh, that was another good one. Just didn't get rewarded. Take a closer look and see if we can pick up what happened here. Ball's at about, maybe 7 or 8 at the break point. Looks like it's in good position. In the pocket. Now watch the 6 pin, the second one from the right. It's going to fly around the neck of the 10 and never touch the 10 pin. But he covers it easily. And for the time being, we have a 13-pin match. But Antonio looks to be lined up again. He's got a turkey up. And he's loose again. And he's on the loose again. Tell you what, you do not want to chase this guy from behind. He is not one to give him away. Over 20 at the arrows. Looks like it got out to about 6. And 10 back. Man, no doubt about that one. A shaker. I'll have a shaker to go, please. Wow. Watch this one. This is right at about 20 at the arrows. Doesn't get quite as wide as the other one before. So it stays in the oil just a little bit longer, and so it hits light and scatters them. It's not how, it's how many. Solid strike by Josh. Let's take a closer look side by side at these two. Very different styles. Antonio a two-hander, Josh a one-hander. Both of them with the release close to their ankle. Antonio throws it with a little more speed. Josh, maybe a little more control, but they both get a good result, and that's the bottom line. Oh, and Josh rips out the 5. And now he's going to try to climb right back in this thing. Tiny little first step. Nice slide. Look at how perpendicular his left foot is to the foul line. That's what I like to see. Over the third arrow, out to about 10. Not a lot of hook, but just enough angle to carry out those pins. Oh! Hello, 8-pin. The Stone 8. That is a showstopper if ever I've seen one. Watch the head pin. It's going to get caught between the ball and the 5-pin. See how it's horizontal? And it knocks that 5-pin back so that he chops the 5 straight back off the 8. And that's how you leave a Stone 8. They say it's the only true tap in bowling. It'll make you grind your teeth, I'll tell you that much. But Antonio's still nursing a 22-pin lead. Josh can cut it by 10 with another strike in the 8th. So Antonio would be wise to keep peppering the pocket. Little thin with that one. May have moved a little too far inside on that left lane. He got a shaker the last time he was up on that lane. This time, doesn't quite get enough of the head pin to create that wall shot action. And he leaves the 4. And in so doing, he's left the door open for Josh. But he takes care of the single pin spare, as you would expect he would. And now, it falls on Josh's shoulders. A little bird told me that Josh is quite the mentor to the younger players who bowl in the youth program at Tiger Bowl in Excelsior Springs. Always love to see that. Oh, no! Makes a pretty good shot there. It's just fractionally high. But he gets this as a result. The 4-9. Slide the 4 over into the 9 to make it. Well, he went for it boldly. And in this situation, down by 23 late in the match, he really didn't have a choice. But he missed it by what? An inch, inch and a half, something like that. That's at 60 feet plus a little. Still has a possible 209. But comes up light in the 9th, and it's starting to unravel for Josh. I mentioned that he is a regular on the local youth bowlers tours, the KCO and the Heart of America. He's won a bunch of tournaments. Oh, no, not doing that, he hasn't.
All you gotta do.
But today is just not his day. He's got a 300 to his credit. Also an 800 series, which he lists as one of his best accomplishments in bowling. I should say so. But it may not be his day today.
Like that.
Antonio just tears through the rack with that one. And that puts this thing to bed. He's not afraid to cover boards. He will play the lane from left to right. And he does it with, moderate speed, so he's not, can't really say he's overpowering the lane. He's just letting the friction carry the ball back to the pocket. Another way of saying it is he's playing the lane correctly. Call it whatever you want. He is just blistering these lanes. And he's been doing it most of the day. Well, a strike there would have put him in the 240s again, but he will finish with 234 with a conversion here of the 2-4. And he gets that done. Josh offers his congratulations. This is not the last time we will see this young fellow. A disappointing showing, I know, but he is one of the most consistent bowlers on the KCO. And he will have better days in the stepladder finals, I'm sure.
There it is. Good ball.
Covers a tricky spare in the 10th. I love it when a kid doesn't give up even though the match is out of hand. Josh says his favorite pro bowler is Norm Duke. We'll see a little bit of Norm's game in Josh's game. That is a 177. It's not enough today. But you see our tournament leader stepping into the scene. Rhett Ryman now awaits Antonio Miranda. They'll square off next. The final score of that last match doesn't really tell the story. Joshua Oldham clawed his way back into the match and had an opportunity to get it really close just when the 4-9 popped up in the 8th frame, and from there it all unraveled for him. He bowled better than his score would indicate. But Antonio Miranda is like the tide. He just keeps rolling in, right into the pocket most of the time, as he has kept the pressure on his opponents thus far today. So Antonio moves on to the championship match, where he'll face the hottest player on Prodigy Bowlers Tour these past 2 months. Rhett Ryman and his partner Wes Edwards were the top seeds when they knocked off the red-hot pair of Carson Beach and Tony Rucker to capture the youth adult doubles title last month in Olathe. And once again, Rhett Ryman finds himself just one match away from back-to-back wins at the Kansas City Open. But he'll have his hands full as Antonio has kept his foot on the gas since the opening round of qualifying this morning. One thing's for sure, we're going to have our first two-time winner of the season on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Rhett Ryman is red hot. He's coming off a 793 in the afternoon squad of qualifying. That's his high 3-game series ever. He's feeling it. And I guarantee you he didn't shoot 793 throwing Brooklyns like that. This pair of lanes may be a little more hooking than the ones he was on. But he will be a tough out, I guarantee you. But so is this guy. Antonio Miranda coming off 240, 230. So he's obviously lined up on this pair. Oh boy. That one overhooked on him a little bit. 6-7. Here's how you make it. Put that ball over on the right edge of the 6-pin and slide it across the lane. We haven't had one of these wide open splits made in ages on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. I'm about ready to see somebody make one. Oh, he gave it a ride. Man, that was close. But that's 4 matches in a row that one of the players has started with an open. Watch how close he came. Just ticks that thing on the right edge. Oh man, that couldn't have missed by more than a couple of inches behind the 7. But close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And that's more like what he had in mind right there, a ripper. Good enough to take a second look at. Love his footwork, very straight. I just wish his left foot would be a little more perpendicular to the foul line at release, but goodness gracious, when you throw as many strikes as this guy does, I wouldn't change much with his game. Rhett Ryman, the youngest player in our 5-player field today. He's just 15. Little high. Nearly had the 4-9. Looks like he's getting a little quick with his feet here. Watch how he ends up on his toe at the end. See how he's up on his toe? And his left leg is straight. Left knee barely bent at all. Like to keep that knee bent. Stay down through the shot. Keep that heel on the ground. More like that. Rhett threw the critical shot in the 10th frame to win the Youth Adult Doubles Tournament in December last month. So we know he's capable of stepping up in the clutch and getting it done. That is a fantastic characteristic for a young bowler to have. Oh my goodness. How did he do that? I got to get him to show me that trick. Watch this. This is so high. He's got the 4, 7, 6, 10. I don't know how many pins were standing, but they all caved in. And Antonio is like, yeah, okay. I'll just throw another solid strike here, and you can wallow in that. Fourth arrow. Looks like it went out to about 6 again. That's been where he's lived these last couple of matches. And we have a 1-pin match. Well, we had a 1-pin match. Antonio hits light and leaves a somewhat unusual spare for a right-hander, the left-hander's baby split, the 2-7. Probably the easiest of all the baby splits for a right-hander. Put the ball on the left side of the 2, the ball will just deflect over into the 7. Like shooting a 4-pin. Nothing to it. Watch it again. He throws a little hook at it. That makes converting this spare a little bit easier. A lot of times we recommend throwing straight, but that's one of those times that a little bit of a hook makes it a little easier. Well, Rhett was up on his toes again that time. I think he may just be trying to throw it a little extra hard. And he's getting his weight out in front of his knee. He needs to keep his shoulders back a little bit. Keep his spine angle a little more upright. Keep his base under him. But there's a good solid spare. And he holds a 3-pin lead. Sounds like we have a screaming birthday party going on down at the high end of the bowling center. Sounds like the shallow end of a swimming pool in the summertime. Doesn't seem to faze Rhett. He's looking down there, though. Has a little something to say about it. But the bowling center has other things going on besides our tournament. This is as good a shot as you can throw. 10 in the pit. Oh boy, that could have been disaster. It was looking like the 6, 7, 9, 10, but Antonio breaks it down to just the 6, 10. A decidedly more makeable spare. And he takes care of it. Well, 5 pins separate these two. You'd like to see a close, competitive match, especially when it gets down to the end. Well, he missed wide right that time. One thing Antonio does that I really, really like is he always stays under and behind the ball. He doesn't get around it too much. But in this particular instance, that actually hurt him because the ball didn't make a big turn back to get back in the pocket. But he covers the spare. And you just get the sense that these two are going to go at it like this until the very end. And one of them is going to have to make a shot at the end. Who will it be? Something didn't feel quite right. He had to reset his hand in the ball. Well, I tell you what, when that happens, it's best to just put the ball down, go back to the rack, and start your pre-shot routine all over again. I wonder if he's just a little distracted. You see him looking down there at the high end again at those screaming kids and their birthday party. That is definitely a little disconcerting when you're bowling in a tournament. Got a spare, and at least he keeps a smile on his face about it. I think everybody in the bowling center around this pair of lanes knows. Well, here's a side-by-side on these two. Their games are not that dissimilar. Both two-handers, there's the release, both with the ball under their head, in good position. Antonio playing a little more hook than Rhett is, but both of them very, very effective. Good young players, both of them. Nearly another 4-9. Now, I got to tell you that when we were here back in November, this looked like the 4-9 house for the ages. I couldn't count the number of 4-9s I saw that day. So I guess this shouldn't surprise me. But it's just a 9-pin, and he covers it. And this match stays close. And what looked to be a strike-a-thon earlier in some of our matches has now turned into a knockdown, drag-out battle for survival. Ooh, a little trippy action. And the 4 goes down. Take another look at it. Watch the 2-pin, the 3rd pin from the left. It's going to go to the left wall and come back and just nudge out the 4-pin. But that gives Antonio an opportunity right here to catch a double, which would give him the lead. But he comes in light again. Leaves the 2. So Rhett will maintain the lead, at least for the time being. And this back and forth battle for survival just continues. Well, I mentioned earlier the psychology of match play when you're in a high-scoring match. It's a little different when you're in a match like this, where every ball could be good, could be not so good, and you got to just grind it out. You got to be very tough-minded to win a match like this. High again. And that 6-pin lead shrinks to 4. You get in a match like this, and all of a sudden count becomes super important. It becomes everything. You got to shut out all the distractions and just make the shot. He gets the spare. And we are down to the 9th and 10th frame with just a 4-pin cushion. Rhett Ryman trying to go back-to-back, having won the youth adult doubles with his partner Wes Edwards in December, and Antonio having won in October, wanting to become the first 2-time winner on Prodigy Bowlers Tour this season. And the 10 stops him on an apparent good shot. And you can read his body language. He knew that was a pretty good shot. Now you just got to narrow your focus, shut everything out, and just make a quality shot on each ball. I think there was a little anxious moment for Rhett there. That ball looked like it was wide. But he covers the 10. And now Antonio Miranda, who has been there to throw the clutch shots all day long, it seems, has a chance to shut out Rhett Ryman. the 9 goes. It was a delayed reaction, but a strike is a strike is a strike. And now, advantage Antonio. Over about 19 at the arrows. That one only out to about 8. And the 9 goes late. Well, the situation is this. He can shut out Rhett Ryman with 2 strikes in the 10th. But no. Another light hit on the left lane. And he leaves the 2-5-7. Make this pretty much the same way you make the 2-7, which we saw a little while ago. You just got to be careful, get enough of the 2 that you don't slide it in front of the 5 and miss it. There it is. But now that leaves the door open for Rhett Ryman. Antonio with a strike will finish with 193 as we take a second look at that split conversion. Perfectly done. Count is important. Get them all. There you go. He would have liked to have had that on the first ball in the 10th. But here you go. Rhett Ryman with a strike spare will finish 196. He's got to fill 18 in the 10th to win the tournament. 9 spare 9 will do it. See what he can do. Crunch! He throws his best shot of the match. First strike he's thrown in the second half of the match. Man, I tell you what, you got to dig deep for one of these when you really need one. He did it in December at the youth adult, and now that strike makes his job a little easier. Now he needs 8 pins, and he's got 2 shots to get them. And that's a winner. Wow. Talk about clutch. Talk about a quality shot, man. You can't throw it any better than this. He just shreds the rack. And now he can breathe a sigh of relief, and there it is. He has this tournament won. And he trips the 4-9 on the last ball for a 206. That is a great win against a great opponent. That's how you trip the 4-9. So with his proud grandparents and mom looking on, it's Rhett Ryman who has won the Division I title here at the January 2023 KCO. We'll talk to him next. You know I love a close finish. And I especially love to see someone get up in the 10th frame and perform to close out an opponent. Antonio had his chance. When he got up in the 10th, he had a strike working in the 9th, and if he'd struck in the 10th and 11th, he'd have shut out Rhett. But he split, made it, and then forced Rhett to mark and get good count. And Rhett did that and more, striking out in the 10th, on the lane where he had failed to strike all match until that moment. What an interesting contest. Antonio Miranda can't be too disappointed. He bowled really well on a very chewed up oil pattern. But Rhett Ryman bowled just a little bit better. And so, he gets to sign the coveted trophy pin.
Didn't need your partner this time.
Not this time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rhett Ryman becomes our first two-time winner on Kansas City Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and you did it in style. You were the top seed, and then you were in a close one. What were you thinking there when Antonio got up in the 10th frame and a strike? He would have shut you out.
I know, yeah. I got up there, I saw what he shot, and I knew that I had to throw a good shot because the whole time we've been struggling we've been just trying to keep it a clean game going because these lanes were just hooking real early, getting us through the face pretty quick. So we had to make sure we kept our spares up. But in the end, I found a good mark and I struck out.
Well, now, when I talked to you at the end of the youth adult last month, you said you weren't going to be bowling in Lawrence because I guess you thought your high school was going to start practicing early enough that you wouldn't have been able to bowl in this. But what happened?
We actually start tomorrow. They by tournament let us give us one more week so that I could do this tournament, so a lot of kids would be able to do this tournament. And then they're starting practice tomorrow. So this is my last tournament. It was good to finish up with a win.
So you won't be in the February or probably the March tournament either, I would guess.
It depends on what time state gets over with, but there's always a chance, maybe.
Well, you know the drill. You win on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. You sign the pin. So this will be the first time we get the same person's signature on there twice since we've moved up here to KC. And I have a feeling this might not be the last time we see you.
What's today's date then?
Today is the 8th. For those watching, we hold the Kansas City Open on the first Sunday of the month, but the first Sunday this month was New Year's Day, so they pushed it back to the 8th. And he's starting to make this a habit, 2 in a row. Rhett Ryman, your winner at the KCO in Lawrence. Way to go.
Thank you.
As we mentioned during the show, the action to our left, over on lanes 11 and 12, was Division 3. Here's how their stepladder finals played out. In the opening match, 5-seed Logan Crosswhite defeated 4-seed Garrison Parkhurst 206 to 187. Then in match 2, it was the number 3 qualifier, Jacob Shermley, who prevailed 182 to 149 over Logan Crosswhite. In match 3, the 2-seed left-hander Adrian Wright took down Jacob Shermley 210 to 171. And in the championship match, the tournament leader Tatum Williams exploded with a 245 scratch in their handicap match to defeat Adrian Wright and claim the title 261 to 188. On our last episode, you saw Kayla Hedges win the Division 2 title, and we told you about Division 4 titleist Damian Burns and Division 5 winner Julian Robinson claiming their championships. So once again, congratulations to all 5 winners at the 2023 Kansas City Open January Points Tournament in Lawrence, Kansas. Julian Robinson in Division 5, Damian Burns in Division 4, Tatum Williams in Division 3, Kayla Hedges in Division 2, and of course, your Division 1 champion, who you saw today win from the top seed, Rhett Ryman, to become our first 2-time champion since Prodigy moved to Kansas City. The Kansas City Open moved to Leavenworth, Kansas and Crown Lanes on February 5th. Unfortunately, due to the automobile accident I was in, I was unable to attend, and therefore, there weren't any February shows taped. Although I do plan to release a Prodigy feature in February with a summary of the results in all 5 divisions. The next Kansas City Open is scheduled for March 5th at Olathe Lanes East. If you'd like to bowl in the KCO and possibly get on a future episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, find all the info you need, including entry forms, at www.kansascityopen.com. Remember to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell to be notified whenever a new video goes up. It doesn't cost you a thing to subscribe, and you'll help us grow the channel. So, for now, that's it from Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas. We'll talk to you again on our next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour.